So like many other Pokemon trainers, I really like shiny Pokemon. If it's shiny, I'll probably try to catch it. However, some shinies are a bit of a pain on my eyes. So in this mini-series of videos, I'm going to briefly go over my opinion of each shiny Pokemon, starting today with the first generation. I've even made myself a rating scale for this that we'll be using through all the videos. At the end of the series, we will average it out to see which generation is the champion of shinies. Here is the scale I'm going to be using. A 1 on my scale means it's literal poop. I do not like it. It's the lowest on my scale. 2 is for Pokemon that barely change their colors when they get turned shiny. You know, ones that go from tan to slightly yellowish tan. Things like that. A 3 means it's average. It's different from what the original colors was, but it's not that great. And I really don't like it. A 4 is a well-rounded shiny, not my favorite, but definitely one of my favorites. Ones that I actually enjoy looking at. And 5 is the highest score, means it's perfect, I love it, it's in my list of favorites. Now of course, this video is just my opinion, that's the entire point of it. I know some of you probably like some of the shinies that I hate. But with that being said, let's just get right into it because this is going to be a long video. So let's start off right at the beginning with number 1, Bulbasaur. In general, Bulbasaur is my favorite first generation starter. I love Bulbasaur. Its shiny, however, is alright. I mean, you can tell it changed, but it's not that good, but it's not bad. So I'll give it a 3. It's just not enough for me. Ivysaur is, in my opinion, a very large improvement on the first one. I really like the color of the flower and the stem, so it actually gets a 5. Our first 5, and we're only 2 Pokemon in. Venusaur somehow loses a bit of Ivysaur's charm. I think it's the color of the stem not being quite as nice, so I'll only give it a 4. However, Mega Venusaur, the color of the stem comes back, so it gets a 5. So overall, Bulbasaur's line is very good. Charmander and Charmeleon suffer in the same way Bulbasaur does. There is some change, but it doesn't wow me enough to give either of them more than a 3. I know it might be a bit unpopular, but Shiny Charizard actually is not one of my favorite shinies. Still, it is nice. I think mostly because people always talk about how it's one of their favorite shinies and it affects my opinion some, so I'll still give it a 4. Out of the Charizard line, Mega Charizard X is my favorite. I just find the combination of teal and dark red to be very pleasing, so I give it a 5. Mega Charizard Y is similar to regular Charizard Shiny, so it also gets a 4. I do like it slightly more than regular Charizard though. Out of the Kanto starters, the Squirtle line has to have my least favorite shinies. Squirtle just barely gets a 3, and only because the color of its shell changes. If the color of the shell didn't change, it would definitely be a 2. I actually got a shiny Squirtle once in Wonder Trade a long time ago, and didn't notice it was shiny until I checked my PC. Wartortle and Blastoise are slightly better. I still don't like them that much, but they are better than a 3, so I will give them a 4. Mega Blastoise is a lot better than the other 3, but it's still not good enough for a 5 in my opinion. I mean, I can tell more obviously the shell has changed colors, and there's a definitely different color of purple. So it gets a 4 too, but it is better than Wartortle and Blastoise. Now we move on to the Regis Cocoon Pokemon. I actually really like Caterpie's colors. It essentially steals Weedle's colors. I give it a 4. Then it all goes downhill with Metapod, like a very steep drop off a cliff downhill. I know they changed the shinies by switching palettes back in the day, but it's such a horrible color of orange. It gets a 1. Honestly, this Pokemon almost made me put a 0 on the scale, but I decided against it at the last minute. Butterfree is an improvement on Metapod, definitely, but it's still not as nice as Caterpie. Honestly, I think part of the reason I don't like it that much is that I want the pink Butterfree from the anime instead. Still, I give it a 3, at least you can tell it's different from its original colors. Weedle isn't as nice as Caterpie. I mean, I can tell it's shiny, but barely. It doesn't change enough for me to like it more in its original form, so it only gets a 3. Honestly, Kakuna, Beedrill, and Mega Beedrill also get 3s as well. I mean, they do change an interesting shade of green. I call it radioactive green. What else could you call it? A lot of Pokemon have this color in a lot of generations, and I'm not fond of it on most of them. So again, they all get 3s. The entire line is very, very average. As for the region's main bird, Pidgey, it gets a 2. If I did not pay attention, I swear I would run from a shiny Pidgey. It doesn't change enough. Pidgeotto is a bit more noticeable, but it still feels like it just got a golden filter put over it. So I'll give it a 3. It's better than Pidgey, like I said. Pidgeot is also just a golden color as well, but it feels a bit nicer and I have no idea why, so it gets a 4. Then we get to the majestic Mega Pidgeot. I love it, it's wonderful, 5 out of 5, a great bird. Oh Rattata, why do you have to be that color? Is it gray? Is it green? I'm not sure, but it's like the most boring color I've ever seen in my life. I'll give it a 3 just because it does change, you can tell. I like the purple color of the original Rattata more though. Raticate is better. I do like the color, but it's not my favorite. So it gets a 4, but honestly a low 4. But it's better than a 3, so it has to get a 4. Then the Alolan line comes in. I actually love the colors of the Alolan Rattata and Raticate. I'm a sucker for both pink and red shinies, and these colors came together perfect in this Pokemon. They both get 5s, and they are a great improvement on the colors of their original forms. Fearow and Fira, they both kind of suffer from the same thing as Rattata. It's just a boring, weird color of greenish, grayish, yellowish weirdness. Fearow is slightly better in my opinion, but not enough to matter, so I'll give them both 3s. I know Shiny Ekans is also an odd green color, but it fits way better with a poison snake Pokemon than it does on Rattata. I just can't figure out why. It's probably because it's a poison snake Pokemon though, so it gets a 4. I like Arbok way more than Ekans though. I just love the blue-gold combination it gets, so it gets a 5. Why did you do our boy Pikachu this way? Just why? Pikachu is your mascot and you give it this sorry excuse for a shiny? It's barely different at all, so it gets a definite 2. Raichu is slightly better, so I'll give it a 3. However, it doesn't wow me. But Alolan Raichu, I like Alolan Raichu quite a lot. It reminds me of a chocolate bunny for some reason, and I like chocolate, so 5 stars for that. Sandshrew is a really nice shiny. I love pastel colored shinies, and this one gets a nice mint color, so it gets a 4. Sandslash is still nice, but I would rather it have Sandshrews colors, so it gets a 3. Oh, as for Alolan Sandshrew and Sandslash, they are not my favorites. They are probably my second least favorite shiny of the Alolan forms. We'll get to my least favorite later on, because it's bad. But they're not completely horrible, so they get 3s. I have a love-hate relationship with the Nidoran female line. I love Nidoran female and Nidorina, because they essentially swap colors with Nidoran male in that line. However, Nidoqueen completely ruins the theme. Completely, look at those colors. So the first 2 get 4s, but Nidoqueen gets a 1. That's all it deserves. It's lucky there's no 0 on this list, or it would be there. The Nidoran male line also swaps colors with the Nidoran female line, but it actually keeps the colors the entire time. Sure, Nidoking isn't perfect, but it is close enough for me, so I give the entire line 4s. Oh, Clefairy, Pokemon's original mascot, the poor thing also gets a similar shiny to Pikachu. It barely changes, but at least the ears change to some weird green color, so you can tell that it's shiny. So they both get 3s. I don't hate them, but I definitely don't like them that much. Vulpix is okay. I give it a 3. It's not one of my favorites, but it's decent enough. Ninetales is nice, but something just feels a bit off about the color of gray and blue together, and I don't know why, so it gets a 4. Now, I know Alolan, Vulpix, and Ninetales change very subtly compared to some other shinies I've mentioned I like, but I really like them. They are one of my favorite shinies of the Alolans, so they both get 5s. Jigglypuff and Wigglytuff both have very similar shinies. The pink parts do not change very much, but I do like the green eyes, those are very obvious to me, and the slightly softer color pink. I give them both 4s. As much as I despise Zubats and Golbats when I'm walking around in a random cave, I actually really like their shiny colors. Golbat is slightly better than Zubat in my opinion, but not enough to matter really, so they both get 4s. Oddish is an alright shiny. I mean, it's average, it gets a 3. Gloom is my favorite shiny out of the line. Somehow the green just works really well with the color they picked for the flowers. Vileplume is also nice, but I wish it kept the same colors of Gloom. If it did, I would give it a higher rating. Gloom gets a 4, while Vileplume also gets a 4, but just barely. It almost ended up in the 3 area. Shiny Paras is also an okay shiny. It's definitely a solid 3. I can tell that it's different. I find Parasec's shiny a much nicer and more obvious color, and it's a really nice color too, so it gets a 4. Venonat's eyes are such a big part of its body that just changing them from red to blue works very well, so I give it a 4 for that. As for shiny Venomoth, I love it. It's such a nice color of blue. Even I love the purple color too, but the blue color is very much equal to it. I give it a 5. This is essentially the opposite of how shiny Venonat makes me feel. Shiny Diglett and Dugtrio's noses change colors, but it doesn't work quite as nice, so they both get 3s for that. However, they are way better than Alolan, Dugtrio, and Diglett. Both of them are abominations. The colors clash. I don't know what they were doing. It's burnt reddish orange color, and the nose being blue, but they should not have done it. And it definitely does not work with the blonde hair. They both get 1s. Meowth and Persian, much like Pikachu, barely change. They both get 2s. At least they're not a burnt orange. I love Alolan Meowth's colors, though Alolan Persian somehow doesn't look quite as nice to me. I give them a 5 and a 4 respectively. I really like the color blue shiny Psyduck gets. It's a very nice color of blue, so it gets a 4. Shiny Golduck is okay. I mean, I wish the beak wasn't that color of pink. It would probably work better maybe if it wasn't. It gets a 3, but if it was much worse, like oversaturated or anything like that, it would have probably been a 1. And here comes that gray-green again. Mankey and Primate get 3s. I don't think there's much more to say about them, to be honest. Shiny Growlithe is a really nice shade of yellow. It's a solid 4. Arcanine is also nice, but somehow the yellow isn't quite as good as on Growlithe. I think it's slightly more green than Growlithe's yellow, so I'll give it a 4 too, but it's not quite as nice. The Poliwag line is a very nice family of shinies. I really enjoy the shade of blue that Poliwag and Poliwhirl get. Poliwrath's shade of green is really nice too. I would prefer if there was some consistency though. Either have the line all change to a different color of blue or green. One or the other. Still, they are all nice, so they all get 4s. I can't be the only one. It feels like, for the most part, the Abra line is a very group of shinies. Abra and Kadabra look like they've been desaturated. And somehow Alakazam's purple just doesn't look quite right with its color of yellow. Mega Alakazam is the best one of the line. The slight change in the color of purple makes it much better. And the first 3 get 3s, while Mega Alakazam gets a 4. Somehow, Machop, Machoke, and Machamp take gray-green to a whole new, horrible level. They all get 1s. They're lucky there's not a 0 on this list, or they would be there. Bellsprout family is pretty good, actually. Weepinbell is the weakest one in this bunch, but it's still a solid 3. Bellsprout and Victreebel both get 4s, mostly because I enjoy the kind of autumnal colors both of these Pokemon get. I don't think that Tentacool or Tentacruel are the best shinies in the world, but they do hold a special place in my heart as one of my first shinies from way back in Ruby and Sapphire. Because of this, I give both 4s, but I do prefer Tentacool to Tentacruel. The Geodude line is such a mixed bag of average and bad. Geodude itself is an alright Pokemon, so it gets a 3. Graveler is a big no for me. I just don't like that color, and I do not know why, so it gets a 1. Graveler is about the same as Geodude, to be honest, so it gets a 3. For the Alolan line, it's slightly better in general. Alolan Geodude and Alolan Graveler both get the same scores as their original counterparts of 3 and a 1, but Alolan Golem is slightly better in my opinion, so it gets a 4. The Geodude line is such a mixed bag of average and bad. Geodude itself is an alright Pokemon, so it gets a 3. Graveler is a big no for me. I just don't like that color, and I do not know why, so it gets a 1. Graveler is about the same as Geodude, to be honest, so it gets a 3. For the Alolan line, it's slightly better in general. The Ponyta family is another great family of shinies. Ponyta is my favorite of the two. I think Blue Fire is just a great look for most shiny fire Pokemon. Rapidash is still nice with its great fires, but I wish it kept the blue. Ponyta gets a 5, while Rapidash gets a 4. The Geodude line is such a mixed bag of average and bad. Geodude itself is an alright Pokemon, so it gets a 3. Graveler is a big no for me. I just don't like that color, and I do not know why, so it gets a 1. Graveler is about the same as Geodude, to be honest, so it gets a 3. For the Alolan line, it's slightly better in general. The Slowpoke line itself is very average. Slowpoke barely changes, so it gets a 2. I got one in Wonder Trade once, just like I did Squirtle, and I could barely tell that it was shiny. Slowbro and Mega Slowbro are more obvious, but I still don't like them that much, so they both get 3s. The Geodude line is such a mixed bag of average and bad. Geodude itself is an alright Pokemon, so it gets a 3. Graveler is a big no for me. I just don't like that color, and I do not know why, so it gets a 1. Graveler is about the same as Geodude, to be honest, so it gets a 3. For the Alolan line, it's slightly better in general. There's something about the slightly antiquated colors of shiny Magnemite and Magneton that pleases me greatly. They both get 5s, I really love them, and I actually need to hunt myself one sometime. I really like Farfetch as a Pokemon, which makes its disappointing shiny even more disappointing. It gets a 2. Radioactive Green makes a comeback. Somehow this color just doesn't work with bird Pokemon, even if they do have multiple heads. Still, at least it's not some weird color of orange, so I'll be generous and give Doduo and Dodrio both 3s. Again, still doesn't change enough, and neither does Dugong. I actually do like the shinies myself, but not enough to give them more than a 2. They're still cute though. Green definitely works with Grimer, so I give it a 4, but somehow the green doesn't look quite as nice on Muck, so I give it a 3. As for the Alolan line, I really enjoy that the color of them changes to the color of the original Grimer and Muck line. So both Alolan Grimer and Alolan Muck get 4s. Out of the Shelter family, Shelter is definitely my favorite. I find that shade of gold orange to be wonderful. Cloyster is still a nice shiny, but it just doesn't hit me quite the same way. Obviously they get a 5 and a 4 respectively. The Ghastly line is a very polarizing line for me. Ghastly itself gets a 5 because I love the color combination. Then it goes way downhill with Haunter, so it gets a 3. I mean, the only thing it changes on it is his mouth, really. Then Gengar makes it even worse. Usually I give Pokemon that barely change a 2, but since I loved Ghastly so much, Gengar is getting a 1 because it hurt me. At least Mega Gengar is an improvement upon Gengar, but it's still not as nice as Ghastly. It's still a major improvement, and for that I will give it a 4. Onix is a weird green, but it's not the worst, so I'll give it a 3. Drowsy and Hypno are both wonderful shinies, much like Alolan, Rattata, and Raticate. I love pink and red shinies. I do like Drowsy slightly more, but both Pokemon get 5s. With the Krabby line, I had a hard time deciding whether to give Krabby a 2 or a 3. It's definitely not bad, but I felt like it could have changed more. It gets a high 2, but still a 2 nonetheless. Kingler is slightly better, although it's another weird green color. It gets a 3. It's a Great Ball and an upside down Great Ball. I love it. Both Voltorb and Electro get 5s. Wonderful. Execute looks like nuggets. Who doesn't like some nuggets? They get a 4. Alolan Executor and Executor both have that autumnal color I said I loved before, so they both get 5s. Execute is a great shiny line. And here comes the weird greens again. It's not the worst green I've seen. Cubone is my favorite of the two, so it gets a 4. Marowak is a 3 because it's verging on radioactive green. As for Alolan Marowak, it gets a 4 like Cubone. I really like it. but I wish the fire on it got some sort of big change. Neither of these Pokemon have very good shinies. Hitmonlee is the better of the two, but only because Hitmonchan's colors clash so badly. Hitmonlee gets a 3 and Hitmonchan gets a 1. Lickitung definitely isn't most people's favorite shiny Pokemon, but I strangely love it. I caught one back years ago, so that might be why. So I give it a 5 just because of that. Despite personally having never used coughing or wheezing in a playthrough, I just love the teal purple color that they get. They are both an obvious 5 for me. Rhyhorn is another dull shiny, it gets a 3. I like Rhydon much better though, so it gets a 4. I feel like most people do not like shiny Chansey, but I find it strangely cute in a sickly sort of way. But I have strange taste in Pokemon in general, but it gets a solid 4 from me. Green fits the shiny Tangela because of its type. Because of that, I give it a 5, even if I do kind of like its original colors more. Both Kangaskhan and Mega Kangaskhan are very boring. They both get 3s. Horsea is also a 3. It changes enough for me to notice, but it's kind of boring. At least Seadra gets some cool red spikes. Because of that, it gets a 4. Honestly, neither Goldeen or Seeking are that great. Goldeen is slightly better than Seeking, and Seeking barely changes. Goldeen gets a 3, while Seeking gets a 2. Staryu and Starmie are both decent shinies. I just wish Starmie's gold part stayed gold, rather than changing to whatever that color is. It looks similar to the color of Golduck's beak, actually. Staryu gets a 4, while Starmie gets a 3. A green shiny that doesn't bother me. I think my main problem with odd green shinies is when the entire thing gets some weird green overlay. My boy Mr. Mime gets 4. Honestly, if I ran into a shiny Scyther, I probably wouldn't notice it's shiny. Not good, 2 stars. Jinx changes slightly more than Scyther does, but not nearly enough, so it gets a 2 as well. Electabuzz is a very okay shiny. Definitely a change, but not one that I particularly love, so it's a solid 3. As for Magmar, we know how I feel about pink shinies and red shinies. It makes Cupcake very happy, so it gets 5 stars. Pinsir and its Mega Evolution changed to a purplish gray color, which doesn't bother me nearly as much as the gray-green color. It looks much better on its Mega form, however. Pinsir gets a 3, while Mega Pinsir gets a 4. Gray-green, automatic 3. The whole Magikarp line is perfect. Magikarp is such a nice gold fish, and both Gyarados and Mega Gyarados are the red majesties of the deep. They all get 5s, and it makes me very happy. Purple shinies are wonderful, and Lapras is no exception. I don't know why so many blue Pokemon, especially water Pokemon, change to purple, but I'm not complaining. 5 stars. Ditto is great. Not as nice as Mew later on, but great. 4 stars. In general, I love the Eevee family, however, some of the Eeveelutions don't have the best shinies. Eevee is a very nice shiny of itself, so it gets a 4. Vaporeon is my favorite of the first generation Eeveelution shinies. Blue to Purple is always great, so it's a definite 5. However, Jolteon and Flareon are boring. They both get 2s for barely changing. Porygon is pretty good. I would definitely give it a 5 if the blue was a slightly lighter color, but it gets a 4 instead. Like I said, I love water shinies that turn purple. They are not my favorites of that group, but I really like them. Both Omanite and Omastar get 4s. Kabuto actually looks pretty nice, so I give it a 4. Kabutops gets a weirder color green somehow though, so I'm still not going to give it a 1, but it's definitely a 3. Both Aerodactyl and Mega Aerodactyl look like ancient Crobats to me. It's an interesting concept, but not worth more than a 3. I don't know why, but somehow shiny Snorlax looks more like normal Snorlax than normal Snorlax does. So for that it gets a 2, mostly because it hurts me. And we're in the final stretch, only the legendaries, dragons, and Mew left to go. The legendary birds are overall disappointing, to be honest. Articuno barely changes, but I still like it, so I'll be generous and give it a 3. Zapdos does not get any generosity. It's even less noticeable than Articuno, so it gets a 2. As for Moltres, I really want to like it, but it just doesn't look right to me. so it gets a 1, making it the worst of the birds. The Dratini family all have great shinies. I prefer the colors of Dratini and Dragonair to Dragonite, but Dragonite is still very nice. Dratini and Dragonair get 5s, while Dragonite gets a solid 4. As much as I complain about the radioactive green shinies, somehow it works for the original Mewtwo, so it gets a 4. However, it somehow doesn't work for the Mega Form, so they both get 3s. Last but not least, we get a little blue Mew. Ditto's big brother gets a 5 out of 5, ending our list on a high note. It's definitely the best of the legendary shiny Pokemon in the first generation. After tallying up the scores and dividing it by the amount of forms we look at today, the average ends up being a 3.5 out of 5. So it's not an amazing generation, but it's definitely just slightly better than average. What's your favorite first generation shiny Pokemon? If you want, we can talk about it in the comments, or just your favorite shinies in general. I mean, really? In this generation, my favorite shinies are probably Drowsy, Hypno, Magmar, and if you want to count it, Alolan, Rattata, and Raticate. Even though they don't technically show up until 7th generation. I just decided to include every Pokemon's forms with their original form. But if you enjoyed the video and want to watch the next one, or any of my other videos I make, you can subscribe to my channel. I would appreciate it very much. You can like this video if you really did like it, and come back for the next one. Bye!